What is the single biggest problem facing America? Wikipedia defines capitalism as an economic system in which trade, industry, and the means of production are privately owned and operated to maximize profit, with the price system providing price signals for the factors of production. In a capitalist system, there is inherently but one benefactor of all transactions, the owner. In any business transaction, the only motive is profit. This motive is of growing concern in a truly global society. In society today, we have a growing wage gap, with the top 1% of the US population accumulating over 40% of all wealth. We have a need to find jobs for the unemployed and an improved social welfare system for those who are unemployed or unable to work. Profit does not solve any of these problems, and any attempt to redistribute the economic benefits of capitalism is deemed as socialist or even communist, quite the opposite of the system which we so desperately rely on. Capitalism is slavery. Capitalism creates a rift in the social structure of any nation which it is allowed to operate freely. In any production process, humans have to do some form of work, whether it be picking fruit, assembling automobiles, or even answering telephones. This is referred to as wage labor. In the wage labor system, workers sell their labor in the form of some form of employment contract. Through a wage labor system, the majority of the population is simply a resource to be used in production. Capitalism actually requires a large population of wage labor workers and also a quantity of temporarily employed or underemployed workers in order to thrive. As with any resource, the cost needs to remain low. This would require a company to pay their workers as little as possible. The downfall of a capitalist system is that the profit or the wealth gained from the sale of any goods or services is dispersed primarily to those who own the means of production, not those who do the actual work. While a company may employ thousands to produce a product, the net profits are largely distributed among an elite few, not the many. Capitalism does not care about the person. Unfortunately, there is no profit to be made in feeding the malnourished. There is no profit to be made in educating the poor. There is no profit in providing for those who are young, old, disabled, or ill. Any social programs are actually counterproductive to capitalism. Another downfall to capitalism is that it is dependent on growth. At times, this may create a boom or bust economy as we have seen in recent years, but more importantly, it is dependent on steady, infinite growth. This growth creates a society of consumerism. People must constantly buy goods and services in order to keep an economy running. Of course, often there is no regard for the need of goods and services just as long as they are consumed. Companies market to consumers based not on what they need or what they will need, but instead they simply build a want. This leads to materialism and the fantasy of wealth. Most Americans are caught in a cycle of consumerism and materialism that leaves them poor, because not only do they need to buy more to achieve a sense of wealth, they must earn more to maintain the status quo. And to what end can an economy grow? We live in a universe with a finite amount of matter and a finite amount of energy on the only known planet capable of supporting human life. In producing refined goods, a capitalist system requires inputs, resources, yet these resources are privately owned. Who owns the trees that produce the oxygen that you need to survive? Who owns the fresh water you drink and the fresh air that you breathe? Who owns the atmosphere and climate that has to support all known life for the foreseeable future? Who owns the planet? Capitalism, consumerism, and materialism create enormous amounts of waste and pollution, and seeing as the world we live in is a closed system, how can this economic system continue to grow infinitely? Modern civilization has one common phrase in which all religions are based upon, and that is the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But what was once a joke is becoming the new reality of the Golden Rule. He who has the gold makes the rules.